Hi friends, welcome. I'm so excited to see you here again. If you're new here, my name is Arlene and this is my little urban homestead. Today we're in the kitchen. I am going to be making lots of sourdough discard goodies that are gonna help me coming up in the next week or so because it's getting really hectic and really busy around here. And I'm gonna need all the help that I can get. So I'm going to go ahead and get my hair picked up and get to work because we have a bunch of things that we need to make. So friends, I've got 4 recipes here that I'm going to be working on. So I have 4 bowls that I'm going to be working in. I just picked up these giant bowls. They're huge. Let me see if it says how big they are. It does not. I don't know. I got them at the Dollar Tree for $1.25, which I thought was a great deal considering how big they are. Let me see. 5 quarts. They are 5-quart bowls. But I think it's great considering what I'm going to have going on today. So let's get started. I took them all apart and I shouldn't have. One at a time, right? One at a time. So let's go ahead and get all the ingredients that we're going to need here on my table so that working is fast and simple. I want to have everything done by the end of today so that when next week rolls in, I'm good and ready to go. Today's Thursday. A lot of these things are going to be frozen in advance and it's just going to be grab and go. It's going to be great. Let me get all the ingredients we need. Okay, friends, so I've got the temperature of the water is at, I don't know if you can see that there, around 95 degrees, which is perfect. And we're going to start with the first one. So the first thing I'm doing is a pizza dough, sourdough discard pizza dough. Now I've got these guys, I just washed them. I picked them up at the Dollar Tree. They're pizza pans, super inexpensive. And I may not cook on those, but what I am gonna do is use them as like think like the cardboard. When you get freezer pizzas, that they come on like a piece of cardboard and you're supposed to slide it off into a pan, or it used to, I don't know, I haven't bought freezer pizzas in a long time. They've been lacking, so I'm making my own, and that's what we're doing here. Okay, let's get started here. I'm doing everything by weight on a scale. So I'm going to need 100 grams of starter. I purposefully overfed this yesterday because I knew I was going to do a big baking day. And I wanted to have extra. I didn't want to run out, have to like leave things for another day. You know what? I'm going to double this. Let's do 200. If we're going to do it, we might as well do it right, correct? Correct. Okay, we are at 200. And then I'm going to add 14 grams of yeast. This is just a dry active yeast. No big deal. Zero out the scale. Beautiful. Next to that, what am I adding? A pinch of sugar. So I'm going to do 2 good pinches. And then zero that out. We're going to go in with 700 grams of water. That was the whole quart. I'm going to have to get more. I knew I should have done the half gallon. It is what it is. We're already here. No big deal. So now, for each recipe, it was 500 grams of flour. So we're doing 1,000. Okay, there we are. And then 200 of a whole wheat flour, just because we want to be healthy here. And we like our whole grains too. There we go. Beautiful. Now we need some salt, 20 grams of salt, and 60 of olive oil. I might need to refill this after this, but we'll see. There we go. I do have to refill it, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. That looks great. Let me get a spatula here. There we go. We're gonna stir this all together. I considered making it in the stand mixer, but then I said no, because then I'm transferring, like I'm dirtying one extra bowl. And I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna let this sit for a few minutes and let that flour absorb into the water. So that's a secret that I have. I usually let the flour and water mixture just kind of sit for a few minutes before I start kneading it, just to let it absorb without being kind of forceful. Check mark for the pizza dough. Next, we're gonna do English muffins. So I'm gonna need a cup. This one is not with weight. Let me see, does anybody else have weight? No, just the pizza. Okay. Okay, cup and spoon measurements, here we go. So I'm gonna need a cup of sourdough starter, or discard. Ooh, we're almost out. Very, very good. Very good. And then we're gonna add to that 3/4 of a cup of warm water. You gonna do it for me? Yes. 3/4 of a cup of warm water. Dissolve that starter into that warm water. And then we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of yeast. All right, a tablespoon of sugar. And then we stir. Okay, so I'm using a 1/2 cup measure. It's gonna take me a minute, but I'm gonna do 3.5 cups of flour in here. That's 1.5, 2, 1/2, 3 cups. Oh no. Oh no. Let me get this flour out that hasn't touched anything. It's only 2 cups. Girlfriend. Okay. I'm moving so fast, I moved on to the next recipe. Girl, bye. Okay, I need a teaspoon of baking soda, and I forgot to grab that. Teaspoon of baking soda in. Teaspoon of salt. Okay, we're back on track. It was safe. It's safe. Ooh, Nelly. That was terrifying. I'm only gonna make a single recipe of these guys, of the English muffins, because I know my people, they're probably gonna go through them, but not in a week. Okay. Let that sit and absorb. Finally. Okay. Are we gonna have enough? I think so. But once I do this, I must feed because I'm completely out of discard. I'll feed you in a minute, honey. Let me warm up some water. Okay, while the water's warming up, I'm gonna add 3 teaspoons of yeast to this. 2 1/4 actually. Okay, so we're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of water. And dissolve that starter and that yeast in the warm water. So normally when you add yeast to something, you want to bloom it in the water for 10 minutes. I always add it to the liquid portion of the bake, but right now what I'm doing is just kind of building all this stuff. I know my yeast is alive and fresh because I've been using it all this time. I know it's good. Keep going. Okay, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of honey. Now to this one, we're gonna add 3 1/2 cups of flour and 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. So now let me get into this. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3 1/2. Then we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, I'm gonna set this aside. The last bowl is for biscuits that I'm going to freeze. So I'm gonna do all the dry ingredients first and then set it all aside because you have to cut in your cold butter. So I will get to that at the end because those are not gonna get baked off, those are just gonna stay frozen. So let's do 2 cups of flour. That's 1. And 2, I should do double this recipe for the biscuits. Yeah, let's do 4. 3 1/2 and 4. There we go. Now we're good. And then to that, I'm gonna add, where are you? 2 tablespoons. Let me use my 1/2 tablespoon measure since my tablespoon is dirty. So 2 tablespoons and 4. Remember, I'm doubling the recipe, so you would do half of that only. You would only do 1 tablespoon. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. And I can just set this aside. And then we'll clean up and start kneading our loaves. Okay. All right, friends, so now that this dough has been sitting, when we got all the other doughs ready, everyone's kind of on standby, waiting to get worked on. I'm gonna do the pizza dough first, since that's the first one we started with. Out onto this board. Okay. Just sprinkle a little flour on my hands, and we're just gonna knead it. Making sure it's not sticking. All right, friends, so now that the bowl that it was in is nice and washed, I'm just gonna spray it with olive oil and then take this beautiful dough ball, pop it in there, spray the top with some olive oil, and then I'm just gonna wrap this with plastic wrap and label it. Okay guys, so next we have the English muffin. Okay. We're just gonna pull this all together. I think this is fine. Spray it, drop it, cover it, and then we're gonna label it. Bagels. Okay, friends, so while all the other doughs are resting, I'm gonna start working on our biscuits. This is 4 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of salt. And then to that, I'm going to add half a cup of butter. Now I keep my butter frozen. I buy an Amish roll butter. Sometimes I make my own butter with heavy cream. This is the Amish roll butter. So I'm just going to carefully chop this into little pieces. You could grate it if you wanted to. That works really well also. Okay, so now I'm just gonna stir that butter, flour, salt, baking powder, all of that together. And I'm gonna need 1.5 cups of whole milk. If you wanted buttermilk biscuits, now is the time to decide whether you want buttermilk or regular whole milk. I'm using whole milk today. You could add any flavor you want at this point. These could be very sweet and you could chop up berries and add berries to them. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, or a mixture thereof. You could do jalapenos and cheddar chopped up or grated. Oh, it's so good. It's delicious. Rosemary and garlic. Whatever you want these biscuits to be, they could be right now. You just have to add those ingredients to your liking. I'm keeping them plain because I'm going to be using these mostly for breakfasts. So each individual recipe calls for 3/4 cup, but since I'm doing 2, I'm adding 1.5 cups. Perfect. So now we stir that just enough to combine it. We're not looking to like really work this intensely. And when you get really big pieces of butter, you want to break them up with your hands. I just kind of smush it like, and it's very satisfying. So you don't want a big globule. You just want it to evenly distribute throughout. Okay, so I'm going to just flour the surface here. And get this all on here. It's going to look too dry, but it is not. You just need that butter to start doing its thing. Okay, coming back together. See how this is like a really big piece of butter? Break that up. Just like that. The heat from your hands is going to start melting the butter. And it's going to start hydrating that flour. Roll. And now we're going to take the top part and fold it in half. And roll it again. Then you're going to spin it, making sure all your butter is in, all your edges are nice and straight. And roll it out again. Now, this is super important. When you cut your biscuit, you're going to press down and that's it. You're not going to turn. Because what it does is seal all those beautiful layers and your biscuit won't rise. It'll look domed and it'll look weird. That's what you want to see. Straight down. And sometimes they pop, they get stuck in there. You just kind of give them a little nudge and they're out. Okay guys, so our pizza dough has doubled. It's beautiful. We can start working on these. Okay. So just a few toppings that I have here. I have some diced turkey, some uncured turkey pepperoni. I have mushrooms. I have a bunch of shredded cheese, and I have our pizza sauce. Our onions and peppers are already frozen, so I don't have to worry about that. Let me get this dough out and divided. Whew, nice and fluffy and soft. It looks really pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna divide this in half and then kind of make like a little log out of each half and then do it in thirds. Okay. They're not gonna be perfect. It just is what it is. These are homemade. That's what makes it better. Okay. So I'm just kind of rolling it into itself. Kind of like you would a roll, like for a dinner roll. And I'm gonna just go ahead and set this one aside. I'm gonna do the same thing to each one of them. There's like little bits from the mushrooms and stuff. So I've been debating on whether to put all these toppings on these or not. I'm not 100% on how I want to do it. Because I could just leave them as like regular cheese pizzas and then freeze them. And then I can top them afterwards, but I think I'm just going to put them away with toppings. That one was a little small and this one's a little bit large. So I'm just gonna add a little bit extra in there. Oh, they're so pretty. Okay. I'm just gonna leave this on the side just in case I do need it. I'm gonna cover them real quick. Just like that. So they don't dry out on me. Okay, come in closer. Okay. Let them rest for like 2 minutes while I grab the onions and the peppers. We're gonna take the first one. Probably could have let it rest a little bit longer, but it'll be fine. And I'm just stretching it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to taste good. Okay, this is fairly thin. We like our pizzas a little bit on the thin side here. Okay, so just to use the pan to get this nice and thin, there's our dough. Now, for our pizza sauce, you can use any jarred sauce. I can my own tomatoes and make my own sauce. So we're just spreading some out. If you like it a little saucier, add in a little extra sauce. You can do, this is the point where you can be as creative as you want. Do exactly what you please. You may not even want to put any sauce on it. Some people don't. Okay. While the dough was rising, I took some mozzarella cheese that I purchased in bulk in big blocks, and I just ran it through my Ninja food processor and shredded that up. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good. Okay, and on this one we'll put a little bit of pepperoni. You can add as little or as much as you want at this point, but I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna set this one aside because that one's good to go. Friends, look at this. I just made 6 pizzas. I have pepperoni, pepperoni and onion, pepperoni, onion, bell pepper and mushroom, veggies only with the pepperoni, with the onions, peppers and mushrooms, cheese only, and then mushroom, onion, pepperoni, and what is that? And turkey. And the other one has turkey over there too. So what I'm gonna do now, I don't even know what I did on these pizzas. They're so good and there's so many of them. So I'm just gonna take a piece of parchment, put that over the top like that, so I can stack these and place them into the freezer and maximize my freezer space. So I'm gonna pop these into the freezer. Once they freeze, I'll just take them off because they'll be solid, and I can wrap them up, label them, and keep them safe. Keep them ready to go, labeled for baking. All right, friends, so now we can get into the English muffin dough. I've got my flour here. Now, sometimes you could use cornmeal, like you usually get your English muffins have a little bit of cornmeal on the bottom. I actually didn't have any and forgot. It is what it is. Okay. Is that there? And I'm just going to press this out. Until it's about like a 1/2 or a 1/4 inch thick. And then I'm using the larger ring to cut these out because I want these for sandwiches. Like that. So now I'm gonna preheat my cast iron. So I've got that going to a medium heat, and then I'm gonna take you guys over there just now. Okay friends, so on a dry skillet like this, that's at medium heat, I'm just gonna put these guys in here. Okay friends, so I've got the English muffins in the oven, and now we're gonna do the bagels. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm doing 6 bagels. So I just poked a hole in the center. Okay. So these I'm gonna keep plain. If you didn't want them plain, you could put a nice egg wash on them, and then you would just dip them into like everything but the bagel seasoning or whatever, like sesame seeds. You could do sesame seeds, you could do onion, like dehydrated onion on these, and it would be absolutely delicious. Okay, we're gonna let them rest for just a moment while we heat our water. Okay friends, so we have our water simmering here. I'm gonna add a tablespoon total of baking soda to the water and a tablespoon of honey. And stir that in, make sure it dissolves completely. Perfect. And now we're gonna drop these in and simmer them for about 30 seconds on either side. Okay guys, so I have the oven at 400 and we're gonna pop these in for about 20 minutes. So guys, today was an exceptionally productive day. We made English muffins and we made bagels, although they might look a little bit questionable, but that's fine, they're gonna taste great. We made biscuits for the freezer, so they're ready to go when we want. We made 6 frozen pizzas. I'm gonna wrap those up in plastic wrap now and get them labeled. Actually, probably a little later. They're still needing a little bit more time in the freezer. And then I even managed to bake a loaf of sourdough. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today, for being in the kitchen with me. We worked really hard today and we got so much done. So now I can pop all of these into a freezer bag, get them into the freezer, and it's just a matter of pulling it out, microwaving it, and you have breakfast breads that are ready to go for future meals. I know the bagels are gonna go pretty quick, and so are these English muffins making sandwiches. I'll keep you guys posted on what those look like as we make them, and these pizzas are probably gonna fly in the next week, so I'm not even gonna lie to you. We really love our pizzas. So guys, thank you so much again. I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me and my day. Take care of yourselves and each other. If you're new here, consider liking and subscribing. Have a great one, guys. Take care. Hugs and kisses, bye. Okay guys, so today was a really tough day. Update, we're using the frozen pizzas. They are solid. And I've got the oven set at 450 degrees. Okay, so let's check on these guys real quick.